Hello my darlings, today I'm delivering to you my first self-written Muzan Kibutsuji story. Yay! It's been a few weeks since the last time we delved into the world of Demon Slayer. And, well, I hope you enjoy it just as much as I enjoyed writing it. But before we dive right into it, I would like to remind you to watch the video until the end, like or dislike and comment something down below. This way you help me with the YouTube algorithm. And if you increase my standing in the YouTube algorithm, my video gets recommended to more people. And the more people see my videos, the less reason you have to call my videos underrated. Yay! In addition, you can also share my videos. That also helps. Also be annoying while you share it, so people will be like, hey, what is the fuss about? One more thing. If you're watching this video during the premiere, please remember to comment something down below, because you tend to forget that because you keep focusing on the chat. I'm not accusing you, I'm just reminding you. Also, fan art is always appreciated. If you join, if you look down in the description, you will find my link tree, and there should be a link to my Discord. And on my Discord, there you can share all the fan art that you want, and I will also be able to immediately react to it should you consider drawing something for me. But it's always appreciated. Anyways, let's get right into the show. This was an absolute nightmare. A man, his name was Tetsuo, had ruined your life. When the traveling merchant first appeared in your village, he was charming, loving, caring, and an absolute piece of trash. Tetsuo seduced you, played you, ruined you, and took you. And now you were pregnant. The rules of your village were very strict when it came to such acts without a husband. The only way you could avoid being exiled with no coin to your name and only the kimono you were wearing was if someone were to take responsibility for your mistake, claim to be the father, and marry you. The worst thing about this was the show. An event your village would set up where you would be naked and paraded around the village, your hands bound tightly by a rope, while the maiden of the local shrine would shame you. You would be walking for 3 days and 3 nights, and if by the end of it no one took the title of the child's father, you'd be exiled. By now it was day 2. Your naked frame was covered in dirt and sweat. Your feet were screaming with pain. At some point you had become unable to cry. The pain of doing so being far too great, and you needed to conserve water. The shrine maiden behind you, however, still was fully active. She was in a strange trance, occasionally flailing your back with her stick. You groaned in pain as she hit the same spot for a 3rd time in a row. Biting your lower lip, you looked at her with anger. The maiden's face was covered by a ceremonial veil that hid her face. But you could see her mouth. It was smiling. Was she enjoying this? Her mouth twitched, and she hit you again, this time hard enough to throw you onto the ground. She stopped behind you, and with a trembling voice she whispered, "Get up." You clumsily got on your feet. Using a lot of your spare energy, you forced yourself to stand up again. You cursed the child inside you. You cursed this village. And you cursed the man who did this to you. "I'm sorry," said the shrine maiden. "What?" you growled. "I am not allowed to assist you." You turned your head back to her. Still, she was smiling. "Why?" you huffed. "Rules are rules. I did not make them." This is almost as painful for me as it is for you. You remembered going to her shrine on a weekly basis to pray for good fortune. You had never expected her to hurt you like this. I understand you must hate me and the village. Once again she beat you, so you kept walking. The rules exist for a reason. A family needs a father for discipline, and a family needs a mother's love. Without a father, the child only knows love and will grow up to be weak, demanding to be babied by everyone because that is all they know. You growled bitterly. I understand the rules, you cried. But I just made a mistake. The shrine maiden shrugged and her smile twitched once more. I understand, she stuttered. But mistakes require punishment, or else people don't learn. Hours passed. The moon already illuminated your bruised back. When finally you spoke again. I don't think anyone would want to take me. The maiden remained quiet. That wasn't a good sign. The both of you round a corner leading into the village center. Even though it was the middle of the night, there was still a crowd there. They were villagers entertained by what was unfolding in front of them. It was dead quiet, save for the crowd's whispers and your heavy footsteps. You looked up trying to make out faces and were instantly punished. Someone had thrown a pebble at your face. The hard object threw you on the ground. You started crying. Too exhausted, you were unable to move. Muzan Kibutsuji, the enigmatic king of demons, was on the run, more or less. While he could easily snuff out these pesky slayers, it was a bother. Not just that. Despite the chance being dramatically thin, there was still a chance one of them got lucky. This thought alone disgusted him. For now he had taken up the role of a traveling vagabond. Of course it was quite bothersome. The man could not enter the sunlight, which limited his options dramatically. He desperately wished for something simpler. Maybe a decoy that he could use to hide better amongst humans. But his own pride forbid him from trying anything. At least until he reached a quiet village within a bamboo forest. He wished to feast on a few hapless villagers. But his hunger would have to wait for a while, as curiously he approached a crowd that had been gathered in the town's center. He couldn't see what was happening, so he simply tapped one of the villagers' backs. What is this about? The man swiftly turned to him. The woman's pregnant, but no father. She's waiting for the right man. Muzan raised an eyebrow. The more secluded villages of Japan had such strange traditions that surely would not stand the test of time. But now his interest was awoken. Tell me, what are you doing to her? The villager explained everything, how the tradition worked, and why it had to be enacted on you. Muzan only listened half interested, but eventually a devilish idea came to him. He pushed past the crowd until he finally saw you. You were desperately trying to get on your bleeding feet, while the human animals of the village pelted you with pebbles and rotten vegetables. Behind you was a shrine maiden who was mercilessly beating you down. Such a savage display, yet your animalistic determination was something that awoke a reaction in him. It wasn't love or passion or attraction or admiration. What was this? Whatever it was, it made him feel, and he hated that. Just so I understand this correctly, this woman has been walking non-stop for 2 days and 2 nights now, correct? Yes, stranger, said a villager next to him. What, are you interested? Said another. The idea that had formed in his head slowly took on shape. It was the answer to his problems. He could marry you, raise your child, and have the perfect little decoys. And if things got out of hand, 2 potential, very loyal demons. With an evil smile, he rubbed his chin. And considering the savageness of these humans, they would probably see him as some kind of savior even. And you? What would you think of him? He chuckled just imagining it. So quiet that he couldn't even hear it himself. He took a few steps into the circle that you were the center of, and the crowd began to roar. You were out of breath, body bruised and broken, but when you looked up into the direction everyone was pointing at, you saw a handsome young man dressed in a beautiful Western suit. You had never seen something so elegant. He approached you slowly. It was as if the crowd had vanished, and in this new world only you and this stranger existed. The man kneeled down next to you and presented to you his hand. He smiled, but it felt cold. But anything was better than this. I wish to take responsibility for this child, he said softly. Your eyes widened and filled with bloody tears. Maybe you died, and this was your angel. But if you had known who he really was, maybe you would have declined. Your scarred and dirt-covered hand embraced his clean and pale one. His body was cold, just like his smile. But after such a long time in this merciless summer heat, it felt comforting. That is, if you want me, he said. You didn't answer. Just longingly stared into his eyes. Muzan, on the other hand, felt disgust. If the situation was any different, he would turn you into a demon right here and now and enjoy the bloodshed. Or he would just simply spit in your face, turn around, and leave. Taking the opportunity, he picked you up and held you in his arms like an overgrown baby. Tell me, what do I need to do now? You couldn't answer him. You are crying too much. And then, out of the crowd, an elderly man approached the both of you. Your father. He only had harsh words for you, and he apologized deeply to the man who had picked you up. But the stranger only said, I do not care. Ah, how much he loved the irony of that sentence. I wish to marry this woman and take responsibility for a child. Your father shrugged, then bowed deeply before him. At this point, he was just happy that your torment had ended. And the stranger, in his elegant clothes and soft-spoken manner, was simply too endearing to the both of you. What's your name? You croaked, while desperately clenching onto his chest. Muzan Kibutsuji, he said. Thank you, Muzan. You whimpered, as you gently pushed your head into his chest. The demon smiled. I will give you a good future. He thought for a moment. How about we move to a city? Away from these troglodytes. Once again, he thought for a moment. How about Asakusa City?